Hello, everybody. Welcome to my introduction to accounting part 14. This is the bigger example. We're going to go ahead and now make the trial balance. So remember, when we do the trial balance or the unadjusted, it's after we've input the transactions. We're going to total the T accounts, and then we're going to organize the trial balance by listing out our assets, liabilities, owner's equity, dividends, revenues, and expenses. So the one other thing that I want to go through and do here is it tells us that our beginning retained earnings were 0. So let's just go ahead and make a T account for retained earnings. Retained earnings, as you know, is a part of owner's equity. So it's going to have a credit balance. So right over here, this will have a 0 balance. So let's go ahead and do, before we do the trial balance, let's go ahead and total up the different accounts. The easier ones to do are always going to be the ones that don't have multiple different types of transactions. So right over here, we have common stock for 160, dividends for 13, equipment for 40, notes payable for 30, unearned revenue for 80, consulting services expense for 30, revenues for 250. For cash over here, we have total debits of 490, total credits of 53. We subtract the smaller from the larger side. We have an ending balance of 437. But how do we know if we've done this correctly? Well, we're going to know if we've done this correctly or not by creating the trial balance. Now, the one thing about this trial balance, which is different than the one that we did before, is we now have some new accounts, mainly revenues, expenses, and dividends. So let's go ahead and set this up. We're going to have our assets. We're going to have our liabilities. We're going to have our owner's equity. We're going to have our dividends. We're going to have our revenues. And then we're going to have our expenses. The setting up of the trial balance is extremely important, right? This is not generally something that I go through or I'm going to give a lot of points to, but if we set this up correctly, it's going to make our lives a lot easier. So right over here, let's go ahead and start with our assets. Our first asset is going to be cash. So our cash balance right over here was 437. As I look over here, revenue is not an asset. Common stock is not. Consulting services is not. The only other asset we have is going to be equipment. So our equipment over here is at $40,000. Let's now take a look at our liabilities. So for our liabilities, we have notes payable, right? We bought that equipment, but we didn't pay cash for it. We said we're going to pay part of it later. So right over here, this is going to be a credit for $30,000. Unearned revenue is a liability. I received money, but I have not yet performed the services. And do I have any other liabilities? Going once, going twice, I think we're good. Over here for owner's equity, I have 2 accounts that I need to be concerned with. We have common stock that has a balance of 160. The other one that I want to write in here, even though it has a 0 balance, as kind of a reminder to us, is retained earnings. The next one I'm going to do over here is going to be dividends. It has a debit balance of 13. My revenues, what I have over here is I have consulting services revenue. This is going to have a credit balance of 250,000. I'm just going to write this to clarify. This is consulting services revenue. There we go. Now over here for our expenses, we had one expense, which is going to be consulting services expense. And this is going to be the amount for $30,000. Okay. So I think I got everything here, but how are we truly going to know? Well, when we total up our total debits and our total credits on our trial balance, that's going to tell us pretty quickly whether or not we're going to balance. So as I look at this here, I add up all of my debits and I get 520. Be better if it was 420, but I'm not perfect. Over here, I get total credits of 520. So what we've done here is we've gone through and we've done a very important step. When you prepare your unadjusted trial balance, right? This is going to be very important to go through and to do because I've set this up very specifically: assets, liabilities, owner's equity. When I do the balance sheet later on, going to be a lot easier to do. Followed down over here by dividends, revenues, and expenses. And when you see in a moment, when we do our statement of retained earnings and income statement, a lot easier to go through and follow through. So in any event, I want to thank you. Please feel free to leave your questions below. I want to thank you for liking and subscribing to the channel. If you want to see more videos in the future, please feel free to ask. Have a great one. I look forward to seeing you soon.